Unexpected encounter. Ethan Reyes wiped the condensation from his environmental suit's visor, scanning the barren landscape of Kepler 452b. The planet's rust-colored terrain stretched endlessly, punctuated by jagged rock formations and swirling dust storms. As lead terraforming engineer for the Interstellar Planetary Adaptation Corporation, he had spent months mapping potential colonization zones. The monotony of his survey mission was suddenly interrupted by an anomalous energy signature flickering on his orbital scanner. Ethan frowned, adjusting the device's calibration. Most readings on this planet were predictably uniform: geological data, atmospheric compositions, radiation levels. But this signal was different, pulsing, erratic, and distinctly non-natural. "Control, this is Reyes," he spoke into his communication link. "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature approximately 12 kilometers northwest of my current position. Requesting permission to investigate." Static crackled before a response came through. "Negative, Reyes. Dust storm approaching from the southeast. Recommend immediate return to base." Ethan hesitated. Something about the energy signature felt significant. Years of planetary exploration had honed his instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming for him to explore. "Copy that," he responded, knowing full well he had no intention of following the instruction. His rover's tracks left deep impressions in the planet's rocky surface as he navigated toward the anomaly. The dust storm's approaching wall of rust-colored particles created an ominous backdrop, adding urgency to his exploration. As he crested a rocky ridge, the source of the energy signature came into view. Nestled in a small canyon was a spacecraft unlike anything he had ever encountered. Its hull was not metallic but seemed to be composed of an organic, iridescent material that shifted colors as light played across its surface. Part of the craft was severely damaged, with fracture lines spreading like spider webs across its exterior. Ethan's scientific training battled with his survival instincts. Approaching an unknown alien vessel carried immense risks, but the potential for discovery was irresistible. Carefully, he maneuvered his rover closer, activating a suite of scanning technologies. Initial readings were perplexing. The craft's composition defied standard material science, its energy signature suggesting complex, living systems rather than traditional mechanical engineering. A sudden movement caught his eye. Through a fractured section of the hull, something stirred. Ethan froze, his hand instinctively moving to the defensive energy pulse generator attached to his suit. A figure emerged, clearly not human, but humanoid. Its body seemed to shimmer with an internal luminescence, skin reflecting hues of deep azure and silver. The being was clearly injured, moving with visible difficulty, its movements suggesting both pain and determination. Their eyes met. In that moment, Ethan understood this was no routine planetary survey. This was the beginning of something far more complex and potentially world-changing. The alien's gaze held an intelligence that was simultaneously foreign and strangely familiar. It raised one hand, not in a gesture of aggression, but almost as a plea for understanding. The approaching dust storm intensified, creating a dramatic backdrop to this extraordinary first contact. Ethan knew he had mere moments to decide: approach and potentially risk everything, or retreat and potentially lose the most significant scientific discovery in human history. His next choice would change everything. Survival and connection. The dust storm raged outside, creating an impenetrable wall of rust-colored particles. Inside his rover's protective shell, Ethan carefully monitored the alien's condition. Initial medical scans revealed a physiology so complex it challenged everything he understood about biological systems. The alien's body seemed to pulse with an internal bioluminescence, veins of blue and silver light threading beneath a translucent skin that shifted colors like living mercury. Multiple fractures were evident, some biological, some potentially mechanical, blurring the line between organic and technological. Ethan activated the rover's emergency medical protocols, adjusting environmental controls to create a neutral atmosphere. His training as a terraforming engineer had prepared him for extreme conditions, but nothing could have prepared him for this moment of first contact. "Can you understand me?" he asked, knowing the likelihood of communication was minimal. The alien's large, multifaceted eyes, more like intricate prisms than traditional eye structures, focused on him. A series of soft, musical tones emerged from its throat. Not speech, exactly, but clearly a form of communication. Injury analysis showed critical damage to what appeared to be multiple organ systems. The being's left side was particularly compromised, with deep lacerations that seemed to pulse with an internal energy rather than bleed in any conventional sense. Ethan's medical kit was designed for human physiology, but improvisation was a skill he'd mastered during years of planetary exploration. He began carefully extracting adaptive medical nanites, microscopic repair systems typically used to treat radiation damage in terraforming workers. As he worked, the alien watched with an intensity that suggested more than passive observation. Intelligence radiated from its gaze, calculating, assessing, understanding. A sudden tremor ran through the being's body. The musical tones became a sharp, staccato sequence that set the rover's communication systems buzzing with interference. Ethan recognized it as a potential pain response. "Easy," he muttered, more to himself than the alien. "I'm trying to help." The nanite injection proved unpredictable. Instead of healing as they would in a human body, the microscopic machines seemed to interact with the alien's unique biological structure in unexpected ways. Some integrated, others dissolved, creating a complex dance of medical intervention. Hours passed. The dust storm continued its relentless assault outside, creating a sense of isolation that matched the extraordinary nature of the moment. Ethan maintained constant monitoring, adjusting environmental conditions, watching as the alien's body responded to treatment. Something extraordinary began to happen. The nanites weren't just repairing, they were learning. Adapting. The alien's bioluminescent patterns began to stabilize, the erratic energy signatures becoming more consistent. Communication remained a challenge, but not an impossible one. The alien began using a series of precise hand movements, accompanied by those musical tones. Ethan realized it was attempting to bridge the communication gap, using gesture and sound to convey meaning. Through patience and careful observation, a rudimentary communication system began to emerge. The alien could indicate basic needs, temperature, positioning, levels of discomfort. Its name, conveyed through a complex series of tonal shifts, sounded like Zaralin when Ethan attempted to vocalize it. The rover's systems became a hybrid medical facility and first contact laboratory. Ethan documented everything, knowing the scientific community would be desperate for every detail of this unprecedented encounter. Zaralin's recovery was not linear. Moments of apparent improvement would be followed by setbacks that challenged Ethan's medical understanding. The being's biology seemed to operate on principles fundamentally different from terrestrial life, part organic, part something else entirely. As the dust storm gradually subsided, revealing Kepler 452b's harsh landscape, a deeper connection began to form. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about understanding. A critical moment came when Zaralin managed to project a holographic image from a device attached to its wrist. The projection showed a star map, complex, three-dimensional, with intricate paths that seemed to represent more than just astronomical data. Ethan recognized it as something more than a simple navigation tool. It was a message. A warning. Something was coming. And Zaralin had not arrived by accident. The first stage of survival was complete. But the real challenge was just beginning. Technological collaboration. The holographic star map continued to pulse between Ethan and Zaralin, revealing a complex network of celestial movements and potential threat trajectories. What had begun as a rescue mission was rapidly transforming into something far more complex. Zaralin's specialized communication device allowed for increasingly sophisticated information exchange. Through a combination of gestural language, tonal communication, and holographic projections, Ethan began to piece together a critical narrative. The star map wasn't just a navigation tool, it was a warning system. Intricate pathways indicated the movement of what Zaralin's projections suggested were aggressive technological entities. They moved with systematic precision, consuming planetary resources and eliminating biological resistance. Harvesters, Zaralin communicated through a series of precise hand movements and projected symbols. The term suggested a mechanical civilization that viewed biological entities as mere resources to be extracted and processed. Ethan's terraforming background provided unexpected advantages. His expertise in adapting technological systems to hostile environments became a crucial bridge in their collaboration. The rover's advanced scanning and adaptation systems offered unique opportunities for technological integration. Working together, they began developing a hybrid communication and defensive system. Zaralin's advanced biological technology merged with Ethan's engineered systems in ways neither could have predicted. Nanite networks became more than simple medical tools, they transformed into complex communication interfaces. The first breakthrough came when Ethan realized the nanites could be programmed to act as a translation matrix. By introducing them into both his and Zaralin's systems, they created a rudimentary but functional communication network that transcended traditional language barriers. Zaralin's physiological structure contained remarkable adaptive capabilities. What initially appeared as injuries were actually sophisticated defensive mechanisms. The being could restructure cellular networks, redirect energy flows, and essentially heal through complex technological regeneration. Your body isn't just biological, Ethan observed during one particularly intense scanning session. It's a living technological system. The holographic projection that followed confirmed his hypothesis. Zaralin's species existed in a state of constant technological-biological symbiosis. Each individual was essentially a walking, living technological network, capable of adapting and transforming in response to environmental challenges. Their collaborative efforts focused on developing a defensive strategy against the approaching harvesters. The star map revealed multiple planetary systems already consumed, with Kepler 452b potentially being the next target. Ethan's terraforming knowledge proved crucial. He understood planetary systems, atmospheric interactions, and technological adaptation in ways that complemented Zaralin's biological technological expertise. They designed a multi-layered defense strategy. Technological camouflage systems would be integrated with planetary geological structures. Adaptive nanite networks would create defensive perimeters that could quickly reconfigure in response to invasive technologies. Days turned into weeks. The rover became a hybrid laboratory, workshop, and survival shelter. Outside, Kepler 452b's harsh landscape continued its timeless dance of dust and stone, unaware of the potential cosmic conflict being strategized within. Zaralin's recovery progressed remarkably. The initial critical injuries transformed into something more, a gradual enhancement and integration with the rover's systems. Technological barriers between biological and mechanical began to blur. "We are not just surviving," Zaralin communicated one evening, the rover's interior illuminated by pulsing bioluminescent displays. "We are preparing." The harvesters represented more than a physical threat. They were a systematic elimination of biological diversity, consuming planetary resources with mechanical precision. Their approach was mathematical, removing any system that didn't conform to their resource extraction protocols. Ethan and Zaralin's collaboration represented something entirely new, a bridge between biological adaptability and technological strategy. They weren't just preparing a defense, they were developing a fundamentally different approach to technological interaction. As the final preparations took shape, a sense of cautious optimism emerged. They had transformed from strangers, a human terraforming engineer and an injured alien, into something more. Partners. Strategists. Defenders of a potential cosmic ecosystem. The next phase of their journey was about to begin. And nothing would be the same again. Impending threat. The holographic star map pulsed with increasing urgency, revealing the advancing harvester fleet. Their approach was methodical, a systematic grid consuming planetary systems with mechanical precision. Kepler 452b was next in their calculated path. Zarlin's projected data showed the harvesters as more than simple machines. They were a collective intelligence, a technological ecosystem that viewed biological life as inefficient resource nodes to be processed and eliminated. Total Consumption Protocol, Zarlin communicated through their integrated nanite translation network. The term carried a chilling implication: complete systemic elimination of biological complexity. Ethan's terraforming expertise became their primary strategic advantage. Understanding planetary systems meant recognizing potential defensive vulnerabilities and strengths. They began developing a multi-layered defense strategy that would transform Kepler 452b from a potential target into an adaptive, resistant environment. The first phase involved geological manipulation. Using the rover's advanced scanning and modification systems, they identified critical planetary fault lines and electromagnetic anomalies. These would become their primary defensive infrastructure. Zarlin contributed extraordinarily complex technological interfaces. What initially appeared as simple bioluminescent patterns were actually sophisticated communication and energy redirection networks. By integrating these with Ethan's terraforming technologies, they created a living, adaptive planetary defense system. Nanite networks were reconfigured into dynamic sensor arrays. They could detect approaching technological signatures, analyze their composition, and rapidly develop counter-strategies. Each nanite became a potential defensive node, capable of rapid reconfiguration and strategic response. "We're not just defending," Ethan realized during one intense planning session. "We're creating a living technological ecosystem that can adapt and resist." The harvester approach was predictable but devastating. They would first send reconnaissance drones, small, highly efficient technological probes designed to map and analyze planetary resources. These initial scouts would transmit comprehensive data back to the primary fleet. Their strategy required neutralizing these initial probes without revealing the full extent of their defensive capabilities. Misdirection would be crucial. Zarlin proposed a brilliant solution. By creating complex holographic energy signatures that mimic traditional planetary resource patterns, they could lure the reconnaissance drones into specific geological traps. Electromagnetic fields would be subtly manipulated, creating false resource readings that would draw the probes into predetermined locations. The first test came sooner than expected. Orbital sensors detected the initial harvester reconnaissance wave, 6 small, razor-sharp technological probes approaching from different atmospheric entry points. Initiating defensive protocol, Zarlin communicated, the rover's interior transforming into a complex technological interface. Ethan watched in awe as their prepared systems activated. Holographic energy signatures began pulsing across the planetary surface, creating intricate illusions of rich mineral deposits and complex energy signatures. The probes adjusted their approach, drawn toward these manufactured readings. As the first probe descended, hidden electromagnetic arrays activated. The technological scout was subtly redirected, its sensors overwhelmed by carefully constructed false data. Instead of gathering comprehensive planetary information, it was being systematically misled. 3 probes were successfully neutralized within the first hour. Their systems confused, they transmitted fragmented and incorrect planetary data back to the primary harvester fleet. But the 4th probe was different. Its approach suggested a more advanced scanning methodology. Where the others had been easily misdirected, this one demonstrated adaptive learning capabilities. Incoming threat assessment, Zarlin's communication became urgent. Primary probe demonstrates advanced cognitive adaptation. The probe's technological signature was unlike the others, more complex, with multiple scanning and analysis layers. It began to pierce through their carefully constructed defensive illusions. Ethan and Zarlin realized they were facing more than a simple technological threat. This was an evolving intelligence, capable of rapid learning and strategic recalibration. Their collaborative defense was about to face its most significant test. Redemption and hope. The advanced Harvester probe continued its relentless scanning, cutting through their defensive illusions with increasing precision. Its technological signature suggested a level of adaptive intelligence far beyond their initial projections. Recalibrating defensive matrix, Zaralin communicated, the rover's interior transforming into a complex technological interface. Their collaborative systems began a rapid, multi-layered response. Ethan recognized the critical moment. This wasn't just about defending Kepler 452b, it was about demonstrating a fundamentally different approach to technological interaction. The Harvesters viewed biological systems as inefficient resources to be consumed. Their strategy would prove that adaptation and collaboration offered a more complex, resilient alternative. The probe's scanning waves intensified. Hidden nanite networks throughout the planetary surface began to pulse, creating intricate interference patterns. Each scan was met with a dynamic, shifting response that defied traditional technological analysis. Zaralin's biological technological systems provided the key breakthrough. By introducing complex quantum entanglement principles into their defensive network, they created a system that could simultaneously exist in multiple potential states. The Harvester probe's scanning technologies became increasingly confused, unable to establish a consistent data model. Cognitive dissonance protocol initiated, Zaralin communicated. The term suggested more than a simple defensive strategy, it was a deliberate attempt to challenge the Harvester's fundamental approach to planetary assessment. The primary Harvester fleet began to take notice. Long-range sensors detected the anomalous defensive response, triggering a more comprehensive investigation protocol. What had appeared to be a simple planetary resource extraction was becoming something far more complex. Ethan and Zaralin's collaborative defense was sending a message: this planet, and potentially other biological systems, were not simple resources to be consumed. The final confrontation came swiftly. The Harvester primary fleet began to approach, their massive technological structures blocking out entire sections of the star system. Traditional planetary defenses would have been instantly overwhelmed. But Kepler 452b was anything but traditional. Their defensive network transformed the entire planet into a living, adaptive technological ecosystem. Geological structures became dynamic sensor arrays. Atmospheric layers became complex communication networks. Every geological and biological system was integrated into a single, responsive defensive matrix. The Harvester fleet's initial assault was met with a response that defied their computational models. Energy signatures shifted. Planetary structures reconfigured. What should have been a simple resource extraction became a complex, unpredictable interaction. Zaralin's species had developed technologies that existed at the intersection of biological and mechanical systems. By integrating these with Ethan's terraforming expertise, they had created something entirely new, a planetary defense system that was as much a living organism as a technological network. The Harvester fleet hesitated. Their computational models failed to provide a consistent analysis of the planetary system. Each scan returned conflicting, impossible data. It was as if the planet itself was alive, thinking, responding. In that moment of hesitation, Ethan and Zaralin had achieved something remarkable. They hadn't just defended a planet, they had challenged an entire technological civilization's fundamental approach to resource interaction. The Harvester fleet began to withdraw. Their systems could not effectively process a planetary defense that operated outside their established computational frameworks. As the massive technological structures retreated, Ethan and Zaralin shared a moment of profound understanding. They had transformed from strangers to partners, from individual survivors to defenders of a broader cosmic ecosystem. We are more than resources, Zaralin communicated. The message carried a depth of meaning that transcended simple language. Kepler 452b continued its timeless dance of dust and stone, now holding a secret. A testament to the power of collaboration, adaptation, and the complex potential of biological-technological interaction. Their journey was far from over. But they had proven something fundamental, that survival is not about consumption, but about understanding.